You're listening to the Good Question Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Our goal is to make each of our guests exclaim, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. Because when that happens, it means you, the listener, may be inspired to learn more beyond the interview and to ask great questions yourself that lead to new insights. In this podcast, we cover historical and current anthropology, comparative religion, and history. Welcome, and let's get started.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Good Question Podcast. My guest is Ron Richard. He is the founder of BLD Consulting. They're an innovator in respiratory, pulmonary, and sleep medicine. So we're going to talk about his work with BLD and other issues. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it, Rich.
Yeah, tell me a bit about what you do. How did you start BLD?
Well, I started BLD back in 2012, and again, the focus of our company is to help with companies that are either startups or they're kind of in the middle of maybe a larger project, and they want to bring us on as consultants to do business development, channel expansion opportunities associated with sales, marketing, and additional resources. On our side, we can provide anything from mechanical engineering, software development. I've been most recently working on a SaaS platform, which is a subscription is for sales for service in a medical telehealth remote monitoring kind of a mode. And that's been really interesting. And I just got back from CES show in Las Vegas and saw a lot of really interesting new technology that will help some of our projects and clients, particularly if they're needing to get wearables. There's a lot of new rings out, blood pressure monitoring devices that are very easy to wear. There's scales, all different types of pulse oximeters that are all now Bluetooth enabled and can be recording and getting information for trending information to a clinician to better understand what's going on with their patient.
Yeah, that's great. So blood pressure, I'm interested in, do they have watches now or rings, or what do they have to do it?
Yeah, the two main areas that I focused on were rings that it could do. It's a pseudo way to get blood pressure, and it's through peripheral atonal technology that's built into the ring. It's been around for a long time. So it was actually patented and invented many years ago with a company out of Israel. And so now there are rings that have incorporated the ability to do that, and along with a subset of glucose, so they can actually get somewhat pretty reliable A1C information. So you could be monitoring blood pressure, glucose, and then SpO2, which is the partial oxygen concentration that's in the blood. So that also gives you heart rate and heart rate variability. So there are both rings and watches that can do both of those, and they're fairly easy to wear. Some of them will last with one charge up to a month without recharging it. So, and the watches were attractive. They weren't bulky. And the rings, it's a ring, so there might be some sizing issues that a person would have to go through. But other than that,
they should make like a brass knuckles. It can monitor like 10 different things, and it's also used as a defense weapon, Pretty funny.
Yeah, I guess you could look at something like that and get more parameters, but also use it as you said, for self-defense. But yeah, they're all Bluetooth enabled or Wi-Fi, and it seemed like the apps that they had designed were pretty robust as well. Our company, we then look at this type of technology, we evaluate it, typically get samples from the manufacturer. Personally, then I'll use it, and I'll let some of the engineers or other people try it in the company. And then we kind of put our heads together and pick one or two of the best that we feel like we can represent out in the marketplace.
Yeah, well, when you say represent, what do you mean? Do you deal with inventors, or do you deal with companies that actually have sales of the product? Like, at what stage do you come in, and how do you advise?
Yeah, most of our clients are, like, say, early stage inventors, or they may have an established company and they're adding on new products or want to expand their portfolio. So they'll bring us in and help them with those steps. And then in addition to that, they may need or want anything from micromotors to need software programming or recommendations on what type of ring or a watch would best work with their platforms.
Okay. Is your do you take a stake in these inventors' invention? Do you help them get it into stores and, for sale? Like what is your role?
The way we monetize the business is we pretty much work on an hourly basis. If they want to go to a flat fee per month, we can do that as well. But since we have so many different elements, it could include everything from sales, marketing, engineering, product development. We typically do line items and then create an invoice from there or a proposal. And then in terms of if they want us to help them go to market, last year we helped a company establish a whole network of distributors to take their products to market. So they would do the manufacturing, but they really didn't want to do sales all that much and/or marketing. So we found them stocking distributors that would buy stock and resell and bill the product to hospitals.
Okay. So these, when you talk about the rings and everything, it's more of an individual patient type thing or individual person. What products are used in hospitals, let's say, or they only come from the medical side?
Yeah, on the medical side, we primarily work with ventilators, non-invasive ventilation, devices to treat COVID or respiratory conditions. So those would be like heated high flow therapy systems. So it's kind of a wide variety, CPAP units, things like that.
All right. So what are you looking for? You're looking for to just advise, or do you, again, take an equity stake and help various inventors bring products to market? Or like, what is your typical role?
Yeah, we don't take an equity stake in any of the projects. We pretty much just get paid for the work that we do. And like I say, it's pretty broad in terms of whatever the needs of the customer are. We try to plug the right people from our team into what they're trying to accomplish.
All right. Well, what about, so the different arenas, like what's new in the arena of sleep? And then we can go to the other ones. What are some cool inventions that you see that you can talk about that are coming?
Yeah, well, at CES, there were some pretty interesting new sleep monitoring devices. And again, there were mostly the rings and the watches. There was a company from France, I thought, that had a pretty novel, it was a very thin pad that was, you could slip in between your box spring and your mattress and then plug it in to either if you had a Wi-Fi system, and if you don't, they had just a little monitoring box that made it Bluetooth enabled, but it allowed you to do a very simple sleep study night after night. So you could use this for weeks or months. And it's the target audience is for people that have complex or fragmented types of sleep disorders that from a one night sleep study, you can't really find out exactly what's wrong with the patient. So there was a lot of interest from doctors and clinicians that visited that booth. And I'm going to get a sample of that product and we're going to start trying that as well. But the other big area that's been explored, and I think it's gotten FDA approval most recently, has been pharmaceutical interventions to treat sleep apnea to compete with traditional CPAP and wearing like a mask on your face. So there's some medications now that have been approved by the FDA to treat mild and moderate sleep apnea. So that's kind of a big deal.
What do the medications do?
They typically help stimulate upper airway muscles during the night without disrupting sleep. So when a patient starts to have sleep apnea, their airway starts to collapse. And these types of medications typically focus on the muscles that are in the upper airway, like your hypoglossal muscle, for instance, and create some sort of stimulation that keeps the airway open and patent during sleep.
Huh. So is it medication that does this? How?
Yeah, it's a pill. It has an active ingredient in it or compounds that target certain things in the muscles and in the brain to help avoid and offset any kind of airway closures.
Well, what does it do? It stimulates the muscles to keep in a contracted state or to pulsate and contract, or like what happens?
More like in a contracted or semi-rigid state. If the muscles become flaccid or start to relax too much, that's typically when people they start snoring or they stop completely breathing. It's because the airway is blocked or they're not getting any stimulation to breathe, essentially, from the diaphragm to the brain and so on and so forth. So this medication it's multi-purpose, and there's 3 main companies now that are marketing in 2025 medications to treat sleep disorders, particularly sleep apnea.
Huh. That's crazy. I didn't know they could do that with medication. Are there any other mechanical devices besides CPAP that are new? I've heard of BiPAPs, and one goes over the nose and the mouth and blah, blah, blah. are there any other, new devices that are coming or CPAP modifications?
The bigger area is really people that can't tolerate CPAP. It's kind of two directions. One is oral appliances, which a dentist will make for the patient. They wear it at night and it pulls the jaw forward and that opens the airway. So oral appliances don't require you to wear a mask, but they're only applicable to people that have mild to moderate symptoms. And so those are gaining a lot of traction, and they're also now starting to enable these devices through a sensor in the mouthpiece with Bluetooth, monitor the patient and actually see if they're being effectively treated with the oral appliance. The other company, it has been doing nerve implants, specifically focusing again on the hypoglossal muscle. So it's an implant that the patient has put inside in their chest, and then there's a little transmitter on the side of the bed that's receiving and sending signals. If it starts to see snoring or the patient starts to have sleep apnea, it sends a signal into the implant to stimulate the patient to start breathing and open the airway up. So that company is called Inspire, and that seems to be pretty effective for people that can't tolerate wearing CPAP and/or oral appliance. But it's about a $70,000 procedure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's expensive. Those are some things that are kind of new and innovative, and 2020.
But what about cooling devices? I remember it was the Uller, and then there's a couple different ones, the ones that blow air, ones that use water, you put it under the bed. Anything new in that realm?
I think you're talking about a company called ChiliPad.
Yeah, ChiliPad. Yeah.
Yeah, that product works really well. I tested that product and recommended it for some clients that were doing some research specifically for people that had insomnia, not sleep apnea. But yeah, cooling the frontal cortex and the certain parts of the brain, there's actually cooling pads you can wear on your head during the night. Actually, ChiliPad bought the company called Ebb Therapeutics out of Pittsburgh, and they have integrated that company's solution into their mattresses. I did see a company at CES that had a new cooling pad that had a lot of sensors and things like that in the mattress, and I think they were also using water or some sort of liquid cooling circulating type of a system, but I didn't get any more information on it.
Okay. What areas are you interested in that you don't see enough innovation in? Where do you see the holes?
Probably trying to, and I did meet with a really interesting company called Ultrahuman out of San Diego, and I'm going to have a meeting with them next week. They actually have got a hub that you can put in your home that is a all-encompassing kind of a monitoring system, and what it looks at is air quality, pollution. It looks at noise or sound in your house. It can actually see if you have sleep apnea, and it has transmitters and receivers, and you can put them in different parts of the house. So, typically you'd have them in, let's say, the kitchen, living room, bedroom. And then this hub actually then mates up with, they had a ring that you could wear to communicate with the hub. They also had a watch, and they had some other bands that you could wear around your chest or on your arm at night. They also had a glucose patch that was a continuous A1C glucose monitor. So I see stuff like that as being the way of the future in terms of a patient being able to easily enable their house as being a whole house monitoring system. And if they pay attention to what's going on, I think it can help them understand and better educate them about diet, nutrition, exercise, and sleep.
Okay. So what's I don't know, what would be like an ideal result for your work with these new technologies? Are you passionate about, let's say, apnea or snoring or, insomnia or just monitoring of biomarkers? Like, what is it?
It's a little bit of all those things because sleep's being such a complex and a big part of our lives. There's a lot of different elements that affect it, and there's different stressors that change over the period of a day or a period of a couple of weeks or a year or something that can impact or affect your sleep. And in my book, I go through, so the way I wrote this book, Some Days Today, which we might talk about a little bit, it gives a framework for inventors who have really no idea how to go through everything you need to do to raise money, get an FDA submission put together, patents, how to put together sales and marketing teams and all that kind of stuff. But I had done a lecture at Stanford about 3.5 years ago, and most of the people in the audience were doctors, that a lot of clinicians are looking for ways to make money kind of on the side, or they have an interest in improving current technology, and they have great ideas on how to improve, let's say, an existing piece of equipment or a device, but they have no idea how to get that idea from a concept to commercializing it. And that was kind of the driving force behind me writing this book. And what I've continued to see in the people I've been able to help through that are inventors that sort of get paralyzed, and I help them take the next step, and how to kind of get out of that paralysis analysis mode to where they can make sense of trying to do things kind of in bite-sized chunks. Like I had a guy that, and I was really pleased with this 2 years ago, that I helped a doctor that had an improvement with an anesthesia product. And he's gone on to commercialize that and start up a little business. And now he has, I think, 10 or 12 employees that work for him. And they're selling this to a number of different distributors, but he still practices medicine, and he's hired a team of people to help, run and manage the company. So that's what I like to see, is job creation that comes from innovation. And a lot of inventors have created a lot of jobs in small businesses in this country that have done some great things.
Yeah, no, that's great. So seeing all these devices and everything, what about yourself? Have you come up with various ideas that you're putting out there yourself? Because you see the holes in the industry, you see what's going on,
Yeah, I currently have 15 patents, and I've got two. In fact, behind me, you can see the plaques. Those are my patents. And I've got 2 other patents pending that should come to market. Patents right now can take anywhere between 3 to 5 years to process through the USPTO. So I'm hoping I'll get a couple more patents within the next 2 years that are, everything I work on is pretty much medical devices.
Okay. So are there conferences specifically for sleep that you go to? Like CES, I guess, is just, consumer electronics. But where is the innovation coming from? Is it, again, people in the sleep world, or is it people in the the self-quantified movement, biohackers? Like, what's driving all this?
Well, AI is starting to play a bigger and bigger role in innovation, and it's helping in a way, I think, to evaluate what's the best pathways to take to get a product to market that's meaningful and it's going to improve outcomes. So AI in and of itself doesn't do much unless it's in the right hands of somebody that knows how to use it as a tool, just like a carpenter knows how to use a saw or a drill or a screwdriver. If a clinician has AI and they implement it in an appropriate way, it can help accelerate product development, is what I've been able to see so far. And the other innovation, and there was quite a few of these at the show, are new 3D printers that can print using a whole array of substrates to get you a prototype within a few days versus, it would take sometimes weeks to get usable prototypes. Well, now you can actually run 3D printers that can make something that's almost just exactly what you're going to use on the patient within about 3 or 4 hours. So that's been a big step and a big gain for, I think, a lot of people in the medical industry. But you asked about sleep shows. There's really only one big sleep show in the United States now, and it's called Sleep. It's founded by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, and it's usually in June. It's in different cities around the United States, and this year it's in Seattle.
Huh. And how many people go to sleep? Like, have you been there, and like, what's it like?
Yeah, I've been going for about 20 plus years, and usually it's about 4,000 to 5,000 people attend. It's mostly sleep technologists, physicians, pulmonologists, and a lot of manufacturers that are, in the business to make, devices, equipment, pharmaceuticals, like we talked about, the medications and things like that.
Okay. What's it like at the sleep conference versus CES? And it's just focused on sleep, but is it same kind of innovation? Like, what, the people there different, the thought process different? Like, what have you seen?
Yeah, it's not so much consumer driven. It's most of the people there are working with devices that are 510K class 2 devices. So you need a prescription to prescribe and use them with patients. At CES, they're mostly focused on things that consumers can buy online or through a home care company, but they don't need a prescription for it per se. So a lot of the people at the sleep conferences are going to be focused on research, innovation, new products that they obviously can stock and sell to patients with a prescription that solves the particular problem that a patient's having with their sleep. And so it's more, I think, research, geared to research and clinical stuff. The CES has got, there were 160,000 people there at this show in Vegas. It's just so distracting. It's like there's shiny things every which way you turn. And before I go there, I have a list of people that I'm going to focus on seeing. And then if I have time to see some additional things, but yeah, there is just tons to look and do and see there.
It'd be funny, instead of chairs, they had a bunch of mattresses and like really boring speakers in a hot, dark room, and they put everyone to sleep, to try out their technology.
See if it really works and monitor them while they're sleeping. The meetings, yeah, that would be good, Rich.
Well, very cool. So what do you expect what do you sense or see that's coming in the next few years that, maybe is not to market yet, but maybe you have some inside info, whatever you could disclose, but any new products that are really, really exciting, that big time game changers that you see are coming?
Maybe not so much with products, but it's interconnectivity with products to a cloud, to remote monitoring, and getting remote monitoring refined enough to where it's easy to use, it's very reliable, it's getting good data off of the devices and sending it to a cloud, and then accessing that from a clinician standpoint so they can create reports and generate treatment protocols specifically for patients sooner than later. Because I think a lot of times patients they're on treatment, but we don't know if they're actually using it, if they're using it correctly or the right number of times per day or number of hours per day. So I think remote monitoring and AI combined are really going to help cut costs and help improve healthcare outcomes.
Okay. All right. Very good. So what's the best way that either inventors or people that are in this space and, want help, how do they reach you? What's the best way to do it?
They can reach me through my website, inventingstartstoday.com. My book is on Amazon, and it is called Someday is Today. Get your ideas out of your coffee cup and on the market. So, if you're a physician or a clinician and you're struggling with trying to get a product to market or try to get funding or different things, different aspects to projects, you can schedule a 15-minute no-charge consultation with us.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, Ron, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Rich.
Thank you for listening to the Good Question Podcast. Please email support@thegoodquestionpodcast.com if you have any referrals to great guests for us to interview. Visit thegoodquestionpodcast.com to hear more interviews. And please help us spread the word by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to this podcast.